for the Temple of Avalon on our Imbolc Open Day. This is a story of the Child of Light, and it's a weaving of myth and imagination. And to begin, I'd like you to just feel into your own inner, you can sit as comfortable as you like, but to feel into your inner Child of Light, which is in there somewhere. We all have one. And this Child of Light is brought to us through the stories, the many different stories, the different forms of that story told in the Maiden and the Youth mythology of the deities of Avalon. So this particular story starts like this. This story starts in the time of darkness. When the light of life has been given by the Queen Goddess to the wise crone to take into the cave of rebirth and renewal, to keep safe throughout the darkest time. And in this darkest time, there is also the Child of Light that needs to be kept safe. And so in this telling, there is this child who is lost in the dark time. Lost in the dark time, does not know where this little light being belongs anymore, has lost the parents, perhaps through war or famine. Perhaps this child is somewhere in a desert, desperately trying to get to water, to a safe source of life. Perhaps this child is in a little leaking dinghy in a cold sea. Perhaps this child is in a cold, grey, wet corner of a windy street in a big city somewhere. And this lost child that doesn't know where it belongs, it has lost connection. That lost child is a child of light, has forgotten that, and is scooped up in this story by the wise sage, by the Merlin, by the great magician, the wizard, who puts his great magical cloak of time around him, around this lost little child, and takes him away, takes him into the cave of the crone, and through that cave into another realm, into another world, into a place of natural beauty. And here this child, this boy child, this little boy opens his eyes, doesn't know where he is, looks around him and starts to explore this world, this beautiful realm, and finds that he feels very at home here. This is a wilderness place that connects to his own inner wildness, his magic, his absolute interconnective belonging to all of the natural world. So as he explores this realm where this wizard has just left him, he doesn't feel lonely because he finds he can talk to plants and animals, and he suddenly feels this realm of well-being, this bubble of protection, this sphere of belonging that he is absolutely integral to. And so he spends a long time in this realm. He spends a long time finding his roots by rooting into the soft earth between the great trees, burrowing down to sleep with badgers and foxes who in the dreaming teach him about courage and about the fire of life that rests deep amongst the tree roots in the earth and is there to be found if you listen deeply enough in the dreaming. So he learns to become a great listener for the magic stories of the fire of life. And he shares his bread that he eats, which is the most delicious bread you can imagine in this realm. It's so full of beautiful flavors, beautiful grains, and it just is there for him to pick up and eat whenever he's hungry. So there is such a plenty there in this realm for this boy, that he shares his bread with the birds. The birds teach him about music. The birds teach him about the magical lyre of the rhythm of life that sings through him and that you can hear on the wind and in the feathers of their wings and in their songs. And so he learns to become a great musician and a singer of songs when he plays with his friends, the birds. And so there is this beautiful, beautiful belonging that he experiences and these treasures that he finds in this realm. And so the beauty of this place for this boy in this realm where he has been brought by the magician, the great sage, the great Merlin, is also enhanced by his friendship with the fishes. And so he spends a lot of time with the fishes, and the fish live in this beautiful clear water lake out of which two streams flow, one with red water and one with white water. And this water is a magical water. And when you drink from that water, which he does every day, you drink the waters of life themselves. And he talks to the fishes who have a very silent language, so you have to listen very carefully. He talks with the fishes and they teach him. They teach him about how to be the cup bearer, the carrier of the grail of life itself, for these waters of life are within him. Well, he never realized that before, so he learns how to become the cup bearer of the sacred grail, how to support the grail of life in service to others. So once these fishes have told him this, he starts to bring this beautiful water to the plants that grow around in this magical realm in which he's found himself. And the plants, they do this little dance that plants can do when they really like it, when you talk to them or when you give them water with some love rather than just splash some water on them. It's a big difference for plants. So he learns from the plants how to be this amazing calculator, this person who can count and make the magic happen, who knows exactly how many plants he's watered or not, how many leaves were on them yesterday and how many there are on them today. So from the plants he learns the wisdoms of numbers and the magic of sums, of calculus, of how to measure things. And this is an extraordinary gift. It's a kind of wild magic, really. So once he's learned this from the plants, he starts to realize that he's been here a long time, because he can now calculate time, the duration of time, which was covered for him by the magician's cloak who took him here away from the place of darkness where he'd lost his parents, to come to this realm where he could learn his belonging. But he is finding now that he's been here a long time and he doesn't understand why he is here. Why is he alive? Why is he alive when others are not? Why is he the lucky one who could taken away out of that horrible place that he found himself in, that cold, lonely, wet street corner in a grey city, or that leaking dinghy in the middle of a stormy ocean, or that war zone in the desert. How come? Why him? Why him? What is his purpose in life? Is he just here to talk to the birds and to the fish and water the plants and snuggle in amongst the roots of the trees with the creatures that live here? What is his purpose in life? He doesn't know. This begins to be a tension, a stress for him. And so this youth, this wild youth who is so at one in this place of belonging in this magical realm, begins to wonder what his purpose is in life. And he starts to seek that purpose. And in his seeking, he finds the great cave of the crone goddess. Remember at the very beginning of our story, where the queen archetype at the end of autumn had given the flame of life to the crone goddess to take into her womb tomb cave of rebirth and renewal through the darkest times. So the wild youth finds this cave where this very ancient crone, she almost looks like an overgrown mossy rock, all curled up on herself and very, very still. Now he has learned from the birds and from the fish and from the trees and the earth and from the plants. He has really learned how to listen. And he has learned to have courage, because it's a little bit scary to come into the presence of this crone goddess. And so with his beautiful, beautiful light, because don't forget, he is the child of light. His beautiful light, he dares to go, he dares to enter this cave. And what he finds when he goes in there, really in, it gets narrow and dark and damp, and you can smell that kind of cavey, moldy smell, you know, that caves have. He goes in and he finds that this great crone, hunched up, stone, bone being of a goddess isn't an ancient crone at all. In fact, what he finds there is this glorious wild maiden sitting in the great cloak of the crone, very quietly tending this flame of life. For she is the maiden goddess who emerges out of the cave of darkness at the time of Imbolc, bringing us back that spark, that flame of life. And when these two see each other, something very magic happens. They start to laugh and to giggle, and it is as if they have just found their best friend. For the wild maiden and the wild youth, they are this child of light, and they know each other as if two hands touch from the same body, as if two parts of a heart start to recognize the same heart that beats within them, and they are so happy to see each other. They are absolutely delighted, so delighted that they embrace, like a real kind of cuddly, playful, tug-of-war-y kind of, tickly kind of hug. And then they hop, skip, run out of that cave into that beautiful realm, that beautiful, wild, magical realm where they belong, because it is their own wild magic manifesting as the natural world. And so there they are. They're so happy to have found each other. And she is carrying this flame, this beautiful flame of life. And also she has in her wild pockets, because she has lots of pockets. Wild youths and wild maidens like pockets, because in there you can carry your treasures and you can find the special items that you find that the world gives you, and you have somewhere to put them. It's very good. Also, it's a good place to have a biscuit or a cake, or maybe a very beautiful little pebble that you found on the shores of the beach. Anyway, pockets are good. So within her pocket, one of them, she has this shining rod. Now on the altar there behind you lovely people here, you can see a rod, a magic wand, a rod of purpose. For this maiden, goddess wild maiden, she carries the rod of purpose. Now, the wild youth, he is very attracted to this rod because after all, he has a rod of purpose of his own. Very magical and very sacred. Now, the wild maiden, she says, oh, you like this? You like this? This is my special rod of purpose, and with it, I ignite life to manifest in all its forms. Would you like me to touch you with it? And the wild youth is like, yes, yes, I have been feeling my lack of purpose. I need this. Yes, please. And so she does, just like that, out in that beautiful world, in that beautiful, magical, wild setting. She touches him with her rod of purpose, and it is as if his mind explodes. It is as if great branches of the tree of wisdom rise out of his crown chakra. It is as if the wings of the great phoenix unfold from his heart, and he stands there, this wild youth, in his power, in his purpose, and he knows what that is. His purpose is in service to life, and he knows he has to find the sword now. The sword of truth. He has to find the sword not for himself, not the king's sword that will mark him as the great king, God of these lands. No. The sword of truth is for his brothers, is for all the children of light lost in darkness. And so he kisses the wild maiden, and she walks out into the realm with this beautiful flame and her beautiful rod. And he knows now what he has to do. He knows what his purpose is. He will take the magic of the earth, of fox and badger, and the magic of the birds and their song, and the magic of the fishes and their amazing capacity to endlessly fill the cup of life, and the magic of the plants, and all these magical skills in which he is now a master. All the courage of the warrior and the wisdom of the sage with the fire of the youth. And he seeks the king's sword, the sword of truth. But not for himself, absolutely not for himself. This sword he seeks for his brothers. And you know where he finds it? He's been to this glen so many times and he's never noticed this. But there, in a rock, in the middle of a clearing, in the forest, guess what? There's a sword, stuck in a stone. Can you imagine? How could he have been walking past this for so many times and never noticed? But he hadn't, because he hadn't had his purpose until now. He hadn't found, connected to his soul purpose. But now he knows. And now he knows, and he sees that stone, and it is not in a rock. There is no rock. What rock? This is just an illusion of separation, an illusion of different realms. It's not real, and he knows this from this great wisdom place that he holds and carries within him, and he touches that king's sword, and it is just there in his hand, and with it he opens the portal between realms, and he steps through it into the world that is still in the time of darkness, and his presence is bright. It is so bright. It is like the sun rising on the Imbolc morning. It is so bright, it shines from his heart, and he is this extraordinary being, this wild youth God, returning, carrying the sword of truth for all of his brothers, so that they may remember that they carry the song of life, and that their lightness of being and their courage comes from their deep roots into the earth, and that the wisdom of the waters that makes up almost all of their physical bodies is to serve life, to endlessly fill the sacred chalice. And that his connection that makes him whole is through his love for the wild maiden, for the feminine divine, that brings him his purpose, which is the manifestation of his own divinity. He carries the sword, he carries that, and he knows how to measure exactly what is needed in the purpose that he brings into this realm, into this world that has been lost in darkness. And at this time of the year, when we turn from the dark winter into the time of Imbolc and renewal, so that we may all recognize and honor and celebrate and love up that child of light within us, untouched, unhindered, unbroken by whatever has happened to us in our life and wherever we find ourselves in our lives. We are connected. And through the presence of the wild youth, we know that we are also connected to all other children of light. And there is a child of light, a wild maiden, a wild youth within everybody. And so this opens the sword of truth within us, opens our compassion, our service to those who have less, who are less fortunate, who are more unlucky, who are suffering, who are lost, have forgotten where they belong. And so it is the gift of the wild youth at this time of Imbolc for all of us to connect to our child of light within ourselves and to act from that shining innocence in our interactions with all of nature and with each other.